You're listening to Seen with Serena Kumara, a podcast all about the journey of coming home to ourselves, the unlearning, the remembering, and the returning to what's always been true about who we are and what we deserve. My loves, we have made it to episode 10, the last episode of the first season of Seen with Serena Kumara. I just want to start by telling you thank you so much for your support. If you've been with me from way before the podcast, if you popped in and out, if you just found me yesterday, I just want to tell you I appreciate you being here, and make sure that you subscribe on YouTube because I've got some bonuses coming up, some little activations I'm going to upload, and they will be the first to know about all the new things that are going on. And today I want to talk about allowing ourselves to bloom. So many of us have proven that we will plant the seed of healing. We will water it through the unlearning that we have to do and the walking away from the things that harm us, right? The hard work of looking our own shit in the face. But once we've done all of that work, we have trouble allowing ourselves to bloom. I'm talking about boldly stepping out as the version of you who has learned those lessons and is integrating all the new perspectives and the boundaries and self-love garnered so often the hard way. Blooming. That's that bold integration, that unapologetic re-entry into visibility sometimes. It's where we get to embody the version of ourselves that is our favorite, even if we feel like we've got more work to do. And we get to exit that deep introspective phase that can sometimes feel a little isolating, even though it's necessary. This is where we shine, and not for performance, but in authenticity. Now listen, y'all know I believe a hermit phase is really necessary during certain parts of that healing journey, right? Because we're wide open and very sensitive. But I also think that sometimes we can get stuck in it. And that's for a few reasons. For one, we're looking at healed as this perfect version of readiness where we feel like we have it all together. We're never triggered. We don't have low self-esteem days or have strong reactions to things or double back on our boundaries or something like that. But readiness to step into the next phase doesn't necessarily feel like that. I don't think it really ever feels like that. The truth is, part of healing is integration. Have you ever heard the saying, are you really healed or are you just isolated? Blooming is what I'm calling integration. It's not just about testing if you've learned your lessons, but it's really a chance to see them in action, what it feels like. If you need to change some things, like sometimes, when we're in that hermit phase of unlearning, reestablishing our value systems and what we'll allow and we won't allow, we have this ideal. And then when we step out into the world, into community, we realize, oh, that doesn't really work. That's not what I really need. It enhances our life experience. Sometimes we stay in that healing mode because it starts to feel very familiar, right? Like we get used to the solitude and the journaling and the healing routine because we've benefited from it. It's brought us a lot of peace and clarity and it feels good. And now it's really just about comfort. And that's what makes us want to stay in it. And sometimes it becomes so comfortable that we see it as a part of our identity. Like you become the one who's in her healing phase. And that can be because it feels really validating. You could be really proud of it, right? Maybe you avoided healing work for so long and now you are like, I'm in my healing girl era, which is beautiful. But if we start to let it define us, it can be hard for us to move past that particular point of the healing process. I think another part is that we miss our shifts. We don't give ourselves as much credit because things just kind of happen. And when we're in the middle of them, we don't realize, hey, you probably wouldn't have responded that way last year. Or like you have really embedded this new information, these new values, these new boundaries into your being that it's not even that conscious anymore. So it's easy to miss like, babe, you have really evolved. But if we're being real, a part of that is fear. There is a real perceived safety in isolation. Can't nobody hurt me if can't nobody get near me, right? Nobody can critique me if nobody can see me. And because the healing journey usually starts after something painful, like people don't just decide, you know what would be fun for me to start digging through the most painful parts of myself. That's not how that goes. And so once you experience the peace and the joy of healing and even of self-love, especially when you've never really had it, it can feel like, oh, I'm not doing nothing to open myself up to be hurt again. So I got to start this journey all over. And so that's when that semi-isolated phase of healing can really just become a cage. Listen, there is real peace, real love, and real joy in that planting and watering phase of the healing process. But the blooming, there's a different kind of joy there. When you open up and tell the world, like, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm excited about it, not as a performance piece, not even in order to get anyone else's attention. It's just you communicating it to the world. That is when you get an opportunity to not just be seen, but to be recognized by your intended community, by business opportunities, by the folks who need what you got, who you actually want to give it to. In real life, that looks like re-entering to whatever level after a quiet or non-visible season, right? So sometimes that's, just like in your friend group that you maybe took a break from, or whatever community you have on social media. Sometimes it's sharing your gifts or the lessons that you've learned via things like content creation or other creativity expressions, or showing up for your business in a different way. Sometimes it's just my authentic healed self wants to wear this thing today to the gas station, and she's not worried about nobody's opinions about it. It's not even about trying to call anything in particular in. It's just about sending that energy out and knowing that what returns is going to be beautiful, trusting that. Sometimes blooming is applying for that promotion and trusting that you've prepared internally for it. And the other part of blooming is allowing yourself to be celebrated in whatever way that may look like. And that can be uncomfortable if you just kind of want to sink into the back, or like you have spent all of this time going within, doing this healing work, maybe feeling like people don't want to hear about it. But the people that care about you, when they see you happier or having more peace or showing up in a way that seems to serve you better, they're going to want to celebrate that. Whether it's just energetically, maybe it's words, whatever it looks like, allowing yourself to do that. That's a part of blooming, which is also a part of healing. The healing work that you have done and are probably still doing allows you to be a different kind of member of your community. Your interpersonal community, your close community, or just us as a collective. And a part of blooming is allowing your community to also benefit from that in a healthy way, right? It's not just an individual victory. It's also a part of how we nourish the people around us. If we stay with that flower analogy, flowers don't just bloom for themselves. They bloom to attract and connect and to keep the overall ecosystem going. And so maybe you're like, well, how do I know when I'm in my blooming season, right? Like, I don't want to move too prematurely. And you're right. I'm with you. Here are some signs. But first, if you are enjoying this video, please go ahead and give me a like. One of my big signs that we were in the blooming phase was I stopped needing to be 100% about something. I was comfortable being in process, meaning, there were opportunities that I felt like, I'm probably a pretty good fit, but I don't know if I'm 100% ready for it. And I caught myself saying, you know what, girl, I don't know. I'm going to apply anyway. We'll see what happens. I felt like I wanted to develop this more, but this still really feels right. Let me go ahead and post this. These sorts of things where it's like, it's time to really show up. A friend of mine sent me something to apply for that I know this time last year I would have felt like, girl, you're nuts. Why do you think that I'm qualified for that? And in fact, I even said to her, oh, I love that you see me this way. We had a conversation. I went ahead and applied for it. I was like, you know what? It won't hurt me to apply. In the process of developing what I was submitting to them, I created a framework that is going to turn into something like it's trademarkable. It's an answer to a question that I've had for literal years. And I know that was a direct result of giving myself permission to show up as who I struggle to accept I am. So I don't know what's going to happen with that application, but regardless, I got this for me as a result of allowing myself to bloom. Another sign that the blooming season has begun is you start to catch yourself expanding rather than shrinking. So maybe in rooms where you would have just sat in the back and had thoughts but not much to say, now you're speaking up, or you're sitting up a little, right? Keeping them petals open and choosing not to pull them back into a bud. And I love that. And then those epiphany moments of realizing like, wait a minute. I remember when I started saying this as an affirmation, and now I believe it. It's really in my spirit. I don't have to attempt to speak these kinds of feelings into myself. They come naturally. That's a part of blooming. Or even maybe that healing label that you got comfortable with, you don't like it no more. So maybe somebody says something that kind of suggests they see you as becoming. Even though that becoming was a huge part of your identity for a while, all of a sudden you feel more like, oh, wait a minute. I don't like that. I'm not becoming, I have become. And one I think is really important is that you notice that you might have a quicker nervous system recovery after you do something that would have been risky regarding visibility before. So, an example of this, I went to a walking club several months ago and I had on this coat. My clothes are my clothes. Sometimes I do the most. It's natural, right? But who cares? Somebody said something to me about, you going to walk in that coat? Like making a comment about what it looked like. Because you're too much has been such a theme that I've had to overcome. That would have been the perfect trigger. And I know there would have been a time where I would have started to feel bad or try to figure out if there was something else in my car that didn't bring as much attention as this jacket. And I just kind of like rolled my eyes and kept it moving. I showed up as my authentic self, and what she would have wore, it wasn't about nobody else's attention. For some reason, that triggered something in somebody else. And that has nothing to do with me. That was a sign it was safe for me to step into my blooming season because I can handle it. So I have some tips for comfortably stepping into your blooming season. The first one, per usual, is to be gentle with yourself. That means don't create some kind of visibility boot camp. Y'all know I hate a boot camp. Where you feel like, okay, it's time for me to come out of hiding. I've been in hiding too long, and you try to force yourself to rush in ways that don't serve you. Think about it. Blooming doesn't happen all at once. It's petal by petal. Allow yourself to be guided by softness and by confirmation that what you're doing is safe, not by force because you feel like you're behind or you're doing something wrong. And being gentle with yourself goes with moving at your own pace. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. Maybe you and your homegirl decided, we're going to start therapy, and you technically started your healing journey together. And now she's in one place and you're in another. Don't make that the reason that you step into your blooming season or the route you take. Follow your intuition, let it flow, and do not overthink it. Trust your own timing. Like if you feel the itch to step out in some kind of way or to connect with a community, then follow that. This is not about what you should be doing. It's about not fighting what is really feeling natural to your spirit. Also, stay rooted and know that blooming is a part of the healing process, that you might try something and find, oh, I don't like this. Or you may have an experience and you feel like it's pushed you back, but it hasn't really, right? You might realize that what you wanted in theory is not what you want in real life, and just be okay with that. That doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean that the previous phase wasn't helpful. This is all a part of the living and learning and growing that we all do. Because the truth is, there is risk when we open ourselves up to people, for sure. I'm going to say trust your intuition again. And a part of trusting your intuition is not needing it to make sense in that moment. My spirit says no has been enough for me for a while. And maybe that's enough for you too. Maybe it's just for a little while, but you honor yourself when you listen to it, especially when there is a certain sensitivity that comes with, okay, I'm about to poke my little head out in the world now. Is it safe? Is it safe here? Is it safe here? Where you want your self-care and self-preservation to still be intact while still being open enough. It's finding that healthy balance. Trust the work that you've done. Trust the place that you're in. And that a part of that work was getting yourself to a place where you can embrace the more free, less guarded version of yourself. So before we get into this week's affirmation, I just want to say this. Blooming is what allows the world to see a flower's colors. Like that's what makes people walk by and say, oh, what a beautiful flower. They would never know if it stayed a bud. So the planting and the watering is the healing, and the healing is what prepared you. But the blooming is how you share. And if you're watching this, I believe you're already in motion. You're already blooming. It's just time to embrace it. So here are our questions, the last questions for this season. Where are you already blooming without noticing it? And where are you being invited to show up in your fullness and actually be embraced? And this week's affirmation comes from Unapologetic Affirmations by me. I only spend time in the spaces where I am celebrated. Remaining in environments where we aren't valued is a form of self-betrayal. Go where the love is. Your self-esteem will thank you. I feel like we've pulled that before, but it's still relevant. Listen, I love you. Thank you so much for being with me for this season. If you're not already subscribed, please do. There's a bunch of stuff coming in the off season, and I'm looking for guests. If you have lived your life in a way that is somewhat radical and you have results from it, please send me an email at serena@serenakumara.com, and we'll see if it's a good fit. Thank you again for supporting me, and I will see you very soon. Love you. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, and drop a comment. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow the show, leave a review, and share it with someone you love. You can find me on Instagram at Scene with Serena and at serenakumara.com. Until next time, be wildly, radically, and unapologetically good to yourself. Love you.